I found a frog. Oh my gosh, that's huge, Goulet. Did you take a picture of the frog? In like most of northern Australia, you get frogs everywhere. There's, I mean, cane toads for one is like an invasive species of toad, which are like just everywhere. These big, fat fucking toads. Heard bad things about cane toads? Yeah, they're kind of ugly, invasive, destructive to the environment, and gross. The story of cane toads is so funny if you don't know it. It's so funny. So basically, in Australia, we had this introduced pest called the cane beetle, and it ate all of our sugar cane. If you didn't know, if you are familiar with America's reliance on corn, imagine that in Australia, but for sugar cane. That's kind of how it is here. That's why we don't have high fructose corn syrup, because we have so much sugar cane that we just use normal sugar. And of course, like all of those sorts of things, like corn, it was built on an industry of slavery, but that's besides the point. So anyway, we have lots of sugarcane, and we get this thing called the cane beetle, and the cane beetle starts eating the sugarcane, and that's not good. So we think, the scientists are going, let's do some thinking. What if we took from the place that the cane beetle came from, there's a toad that eats the cane beetle, right? So if we introduce the natural predator of the cane beetle into the place where the cane beetles are, they'll eat the cane beetles. Problem solved. Actually, it wasn't the natural predator. They basically were just like, okay, here's a frog that fucking loves eating cane beetles. Like, every time we feed them a cane beetle, the frog eats it. So it should work perfectly. And so the scientists were like, we need to look at this a little bit more closely. But the politicians were like, perfect. Because, you know, politicians are very attuned to like farm problems, you know, like agricultural problems, because, you know, it means a lot for a lot of people. So anyway, they decided to just introduce the cane toad. And then the cane toad came, and it started breeding and breeding and breeding and breeding. And then they started to notice that the cane beetles were still there too. And it turns out that cane beetles are awake during the day and cane toads are awake during the night. So they don't even come into contact with each other. It didn't even work. And so they introduced just a random fucking frog to Australia, which loved it. Absolutely loved it. Didn't have any natural predators because it was filled with poison, so anything that tries to eat it dies. So it just absolutely proliferated throughout all of northern Australia, and that's how we got the cane toad.